Well, hello and welcome to Social Media Myths Busted. It's Laura Rubinstein back again with you, and today I have a very special guest, Melonie Dodaro, Canada's LinkedIn expert. Welcome, Melonie.
Thanks, Laura.
I'm really excited. Tell us about you and your vision for your work and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, those are a lot of questions all rolled up in one. um, well, I started off in my social media journey back in 2007 and was a little bit of a slow learner. Took me a few years to really wrap my whole head around it all. I studied a lot, took a lot of courses, hired coaches. And a few years later, I started really realizing, the power of social media, and made all the mistakes that you can make, and kind of got to a place where I had it figured out for the most part. I mean, you can't be an expert on every single platform, and I certainly don't, profess myself to be one. And that's really what gravitated me to LinkedIn, because I've been in business for over 15 years, been an entrepreneur, and it just made sense to me to focus on the number one business social network. And I really liked it because, unlike Facebook, people weren't posting about what they had for lunch, and they weren't sharing pictures of their pets. It was very business focused, and that really resonated with me. And then it continued to resonate with me even more as I started to learn how powerful it was for lead generation. And I think, one of the things that I see with social media is a lot of people waste a lot of time doing things that don't produce results. And so, that was one of the reasons why I started my company, Top Dog Social Media, to really help business owners, professionals, and entrepreneurs kind of cut through the noise and figure out what works and what doesn't work, and really focus on the things that they can do that are the highest leveraging activities.
I love that, and I especially love that you said you were a slow learner in the beginning. I think a lot of people can relate to that, and the fact that you are now an expert in LinkedIn and you started out, you didn't like jump out of the gun. So tell me a little bit more about that time, and what do you mean by you were a slow learner?
Well, it's funny because I started with Facebook because my family lived on the other side of the country, and they kept bugging me. They were all on Facebook, and they're like, "Get on Facebook, get on Facebook." I'm like, "What is this stupid Facebook?" I didn't even know what it was. And I literally couldn't even set up my own profile. My cousin walked me through it step by step over the phone. I'm not a tech savvy person. So getting involved in what one perceives to be tech savvy tools was a little challenging and overwhelming for me. And I realized later, I mean, the only thing that's, a little techy about them is the initial setup of a site, setting up your
Yeah.
setting up your LinkedIn profile. But once that's done, there's nothing techy about it. And so, as I kind of worked through that, also, trying to figure out what content, what do you share that works? And I see, you and both of us see on a daily basis people making a lot of mistakes, and that's why this book that you're writing is perfect for it, because there's, a lot of myths and a lot of confusion and a lot of mistakes that people are making that actually hurt them. So,
So go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
So this is great. So I love, because one of the myths is you have to be tech savvy, right?
Yeah.
And that you got it, that you don't have to be. And then once you're set up, you're good to go, and you just got to learn some strategy. So in what ways has social media, LinkedIn, whatever, helped your success?
Well, a number of ways. First of all, it opens you up to a global audience. I've got followers and people that invest in, my courses and my services from all over the world. 5 or 6 years ago, even a little bit more than that, that just wasn't possible. And so now we've got this opportunity to have this global audience and connect with people all around the world. Sharing great content. I'm a big advocate of content marketing and being, a content producer of high quality content, because that's really what positions you as an authority on your topic, whatever your topic is. Whether you're, in financial services, or you've got, any kind of a service provider, whatever it is, it's one of the things that's going to separate you from others. And in addition to that, if you do it well, you can get found by Google. If you do it well, whole bunch of people are going to share it and expand your network exponentially. So, that's always been part of my strategy, is to become, to be a content producer of high quality, regular, consistent content. And it really, helps you leverage better than we ever could before. I mean, I remember before I started in social media, I used to own franchises. I used to have a number of different franchises. And I used to spend $800,000 a year on marketing. TV, radio, newspaper, billboards, you name it, did it all, print. And when I was kind of winding that down and getting involved in social media, after a couple of years of being in social media, I realized everything that I did to be successful only 5 years before wouldn't work today. Things have changed so much. Social media has created tremendous challenges for people because they're overwhelmed and they're confused, but it's created tremendous opportunities. You can market yourself better than ever before for a lot less money than you could ever before. So there's a lot of great opportunities there. It's just kind of cutting through the noise and figuring out what's going to work for your business. I'm also a big believer that less is more. When you try to be everywhere, you're not going to do anything well. So figuring out 2 or 3 things that you can do and you can do really well and dedicate the time to that are specifically well suited for your business and your target market is ideal.
Awesome. So that makes me think about your journey. So I want to get a little bit more insight. So you said your family recruited you to get started on Facebook, and then what was your journey from Facebook to really focusing, because you're taking your own advice of really focusing and honing in on something or 2 or 3 things, from Facebook to really being present on LinkedIn and using that for business?
Yeah, well, so when I started using Facebook, within about a month or 2, I was like using this, and I was like, there's a business application here, and I'm going to figure it out. And so as I started trying to learn more about it, I started learning about Twitter and LinkedIn and the other tools that were available, and just kind of really dove into them and literally became almost a full-time student for 3 years, trying to figure out all these different aspects of online marketing. There's so much to it, from email marketing to websites to social media sites to doing teleseminars and videos and webinars. There's a lot, and it's very overwhelming. So I dove into it, and part of that journey was really discovering LinkedIn and discovering that was the ideal tool for me because of just my personality and who I am. I'm a more conservative social media person than most, and I think that just comes with part of my personality and part of my background. And I attracted a lot of more conservative type clients and ones that are ideally suited for LinkedIn. So it just, I liked it where other people thought it was boring. I was like, I think Facebook's kind of boring at times, right? It's like, okay, I'm sick of reading everybody's motivational quotes and different stuff that's there when people are posting really genuine and authentic, stuff about themselves. Great. Facebook was meant to be a personal profile, and the challenge that happens with it is that people are trying to incorporate business in it, and they can do that successfully if they understand how, and most don't. And then the other thing is, Facebook's algorithm or their edge rank, and so people thinking, okay, well, I've got to post pictures, so I've got to post all this crap because otherwise nobody's going to see me, and it just became this kind of messy, convoluted thing that just didn't appeal to me. I still enjoy it for personal use. I'm not a huge fan of it for business use, but I love LinkedIn.
Awesome. So you mentioned, I love this because it's all kind of new perspective information on LinkedIn. Like it's your clients and yourself more conservative. So who is there? If someone should consider going to LinkedIn, who's best suited for it? For business, like if I'm a business owner, what kind of businesses are suited to really start using it?
Yeah, so anybody who's in B2B, so any kind of business that serves other businesses, it's perfect for. Any kind of professional service provider, so if you offer a professional service, whether it's website design, marketing, accounting, law, coaching, consulting, doesn't matter what it is, any kind of professional service. Obviously marketing people, sales people. I train sales teams on a regular basis on how to use LinkedIn for lead generation and social selling. So it's phenomenal for sales teams. So, the B2B function is always ideal. So sometimes I'll work with clients who have maybe a B2C and a B2B application in their business. So they serve consumers and they also kind of work with other businesses. And I always suggest with LinkedIn, let's focus on that B2B application. Use Facebook, Twitter, and your other tools to focus on the B2C application because you're going to have more success there on that and more success using the B2B function on LinkedIn. That's one of the things that I talk about on a regular basis too. Your goals and objectives can be very different on each social platform. So on LinkedIn, if you can find a way to make that work where you're really working with, for example, even financial advisors. Financial advisors are looking for consumers, end users. It's really hard to find people on LinkedIn that would be a good candidate for your financial advising service that would be receptive to that. Mm-hmm. So instead of focusing on that, they can focus on building some strategic alliances with some other professionals that serve the same audience, accountants, lawyers, and so forth. So really understanding where are you going to get the best leverage from using that tool.
Awesome. Great ideas. So are you saying, though, that the B2C, if to get end user clients is really not a place, like if you're a massage therapist or a whole wellness professional or dentist, you really shouldn't go to get clients using LinkedIn?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's a little bit more challenging.
Okay.
Be a little bit more creative. So for example, if I was working with a restaurant, first question I'd ask is, do you do catering of lunches for businesses? Let's figure out, where that is. If you're a massage therapist, again, who are some of the strategic alliances that you can connect with, the chiropractors and the other people in the wellness industry that might refer business to you. So it's about understanding where, for that particular person, individual, or what their application is, who their target market is, how can we best reach them through that platform? And you do need to be a little bit more creative in the B2C space.
Yeah, and you are pointing out some really creative ways, and I've always been a proponent of creating strategic alliances as one of the best ways to get end clients. So, now you have this global network, business design network to do that. So it's a beautiful thing you're pointing out here. And people listening today probably aren't thinking that way, so we're changing their thinking. What else? What other myths do you think people buy into or misconceptions about LinkedIn or any other social network that, if they shifted, could open up a whole new world of possibility?
One of the biggest ones, Laura, is that they think LinkedIn's a resume site.
Ha.
So, LinkedIn kind of started off with that, with the recruiting and a great place for job seekers. And today, only 16% of the people using LinkedIn are using it for either job seeking or recruitment, which means that 84% are using it for business purposes, whatever that is for them. It could be business networking, could be lead generation, it could be just having their professional presence there. So there's a lot of opportunity to use it as a business tool. And the big mistake when you use it as a resume site and perhaps upload your resume or your professional bio is you're not connecting with your ideal clients. So one of the things I talk about is really laying the foundation for your success with LinkedIn with a client-focused profile, because nobody cares about you. They only care about how you can help them. So when your profile speaks to them and resonates with them, they're so much more likely to take action, connect with you, and then you have the opportunity to start to build a relationship with them. There's a lot of things people obviously are doing wrong, and that's one of them. They're not moving those relationships forward and building those relationships. They're maybe collecting connections. It's not going to help you all that much. But taking that approach of really laying the foundation for your success on LinkedIn with a great profile that is credible, is professional, and mostly is client-focused.
And I hear a lot about engaging on social media. What's the best way on LinkedIn to engage? Is it through the in-mail, or are there and groups, or are there other better ways?
Groups are fantastic. The big mistake that people make with groups is they join all their industry-specific groups. So instead of joining groups where your target market is, they're joining industry-specific groups. And there's nothing wrong with joining industry-specific groups. You should join a few to stay up to date on what's happening in your industry, stay current. see what your peers are doing, monitor competitors, just kind of, stay current. That's important. You can also join a few groups of personal interest. So if you want to learn more about social media, you might want to join a few social media groups. If you want to learn more about sales or business development or marketing, you might want to join a few groups like that. But the vast majority of the groups that you join should be groups where you can find your target market. You can start discussions in those groups. You can engage with other people's discussions, engage with other people's comments. But really one of the things that I talk about is having a very structured lead generation plan on LinkedIn. I wrote about this in my book, The LinkedIn Code. It's about really having a structured plan. And that's, laying the foundation with a great profile, understanding LinkedIn etiquette and best practices, and then having a social selling, if you will, plan of prospecting, finding those ideal clients, whether it's through advanced search or LinkedIn groups, connecting with them via a personalized connection request message, building a relationship with them afterwards. One of the things that we do is, if you connect with me on LinkedIn, I will follow up with what I call my welcome message. And this is what I talk about in my book, too. How do you create, a relationship with a new connection versus just collect connections? A lot of people will say, Melonie, I've been on LinkedIn for like 5 years and I have never gotten any business from it. I'm like, well, what do you do? Well, if somebody sends me a connection request, I accept and I send out a few and I'm like, and that's it. So by sending that welcome message and providing something of value and starting a dialogue, you have the opportunity to start to build a relationship. The ultimate goal is to move that relationship offline, unless you're selling, a low-priced product, or like, for example, if I'm trying to sell a book or a program, one of my online courses, those are low-priced products. You don't necessarily have to ever speak to anybody for that. But if you're selling a higher ticket service, something that people are investing, a fair amount of money with, they're going to need to have a conversation with you. And if that's your business model where they need to have a conversation with you, then it's no different online. And the big mistake that people make online, whether it's LinkedIn or any other social media tool, is they try to rush to the sale. I would say, you got to slow down the sale to speed it up. You got to build a relationship. You got to position yourself as somebody who provides value, somebody who's credible. Move that relationship offline. That's where you can talk about your services. But first you want to find out more about them. What is the problem that they have? Is your service even right for them? And if it is, which service is right for them?
That's great. So I have a confession to make, if I may confess to you. So I agree with this. When someone asks you to connect, you should follow up. And so I haven't accepted hundreds of connection requests because otherwise I'd just be collecting new connections because I don't have time to follow up. What advice can you give me now that I have hundreds?
It's very easy, Laura. I've got a very good solution.
Oh, good. I can't wait.
That's what I talk about as part of the lead generation plan. You need to have a systemized plan in place that minimizes the time you spend. You can't write a personal note to everybody. What you can do is personalize it at the top. You can write, hi, Laura. You could even take the time, if you wanted to add an additional sentence. But what I do is I create messages for both myself and my clients that you can copy and paste. Just drop their name in there. It's customized. It's personalized, right? They know it's not sent out to a mass message because you can't do that through LinkedIn and customize their name. So, you just have a system in place where you can start to duplicate and replicate some of this stuff so it doesn't take a lot of time, because we don't have a lot of time. Phone's ringing.
I totally want to do that, be able to do the systemized. And I have the copy and paste messages, but if I send more than 5 out in a week, I'm getting messages back. And then I have to follow up with those. So it's like I have to do it consistently or something.
Yeah, so it depends on what you have in your message. If you're asking them a question in your message that they need to respond to, then of course you're going to get messages back. So in your case right now, you might want to clean it up without asking them a question back and just, kind of, one of the things I do is I provide something of value to them right away. I'll be like, In my book, The LinkedIn Code, I talk about, the different things that you need to do to, have success on LinkedIn. What I've done is I've created a little handy cheat sheet that you might want to download. You can go to, licodecheatsheet.com and download that, and then I get them into an email list.
Mm,
I continue to provide value, once a week with a, featured article and a social media tip of the week, and stay top of mind with them. I don't need to actually have them have a conversation with me right away because I have a different method of kind of moving that forward, right? So every business is going to be a little bit different, but
right.
the same process should happen where you should send, some kind of a follow-up message, and it can be, script-like, but as long as it doesn't look script-like.
I love it. I love it. It's taking that system to even a higher level, and you're making me more conscious of it. And because I was buying into my own myth that I have to spend lots and lots of time following up with these people on LinkedIn, but if I have a very well thought out way to stay in touch with them systematically, boom, that myth is busted. Woo!
Exactly.
Melonie busts another myth.
Ah,
We love it. That's great. So, one of the things that's also a mystery to me on LinkedIn is the ads. So, what are the myths and or the mistakes people are making with ads, and what do you recommend?
well, first of all, one of the things I'll start off saying is, if you follow a certain lead generation plan, you don't need to run ads. The bigger the company, the more likely they might want to, because you can only run ads through your company page. You don't run ads through your personal profile. So first of all, you need to have a company page. Secondly, if you're going to run ads, you need to be a good content producer because that's what people are going to resonate with. You can use sponsored posts on LinkedIn. So on your company page, you can post content that's going to resonate with your specific target audience, and you can target those to show up only to specific people, specific, whatever the criteria is that you want. And the only challenge with that is that they're expensive. They're pretty pricey per click. So it turns off a lot of people. That's the sponsored post. So the sponsored posts on LinkedIn are very much like the sponsored posts on Facebook.
But they're pricey too?
Much more pricey than Facebook.
Okay.
Much
Gotcha.
more pricey than Facebook. The other format of ads that you can run is like the banner ads and the different ads that you see when you're in your personal profile. And those, you can see them on the side or at the top. Those, unfortunately, you get bottom of the barrel placement with those type of ads when you use the self-serve option, which is you going in and setting up your own ads. In order to get good placement for banners and for things that are showing up, is you have to use a LinkedIn account rep, and you have to have a minimum ad spend of $10,000. So it really pretty much eliminates most people right off the bat.
Interesting. So that's why when I went to try out the self-serve, I got 0 clicks.
Yeah.
Are there certain things that work better for getting clicks, certain genres of business and like events versus products or um, freebies versus a paid something or other?
Well, usually content, having content that's going to resonate with that specific audience. So, the perfect content is the more specific you are with your target market, the more specific you can be with your content. The more specific you are with your content, the more that's going to resonate to them. So, for example, if you had a piece of content out there and your target market was the financial services industry, and your content spoke directly to the financial services industry, and you only ran ads to the financial services industry, it's going to be a lot more effective than just having this generic type ad. And of course, again, it comes down to the placement. So utilizing a LinkedIn account rep to make sure that you get the right placement is important.
Indeed. And who knew you could have a LinkedIn rep? But if you have the budget, you get a rep, right?
Right. It does.
So there's one more area that I want to touch on because I'm sure you'll want to talk about this, but I'm seeing more and more people using Facebook to spam, or let's put it nicely, to share promotional messages about their upcoming events, in particular webinars, teleseminars, and book launches.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you say spamming, elaborate on that. What are they specifically doing?
Well, and we'll take that word off, but I'm seeing more people sending me email like, so I'm doing this event. Don't you want to join? It's $27. Click here.
Right. Yeah.
And by the way, those people are saying they're getting a lot of results. They're getting clients and people. They're actually getting there's these cold emails that are going out to their connections, and they're sending them out to more than one person the same message. So how do you feel about them? Is there a mistake in there, or is there a best practice in there that you can recommend?
Now, when you say cold emails, are you talking about just like Facebook messages?
They're the in-mail through LinkedIn, through in my LinkedIn inbox.
My emails, yeah. Yeah, I mean, as soon as you don't have a name associated with it, and I know it's a mass message, or when you make the big mistake of not unchecking that box so that everybody can see that you sent it to 50 other people, instantly you lose people. It's a numbers game like anything else, right? So you can turn off a whole bunch of people, and you can ultimately get one or two, leads from it. It's about really approaching it the right way. So how I use social media is, and this is all social media, I use it to drive people to my website and drive people to opt into something. I only sell, not try, I only sell via email. And I don't sell a lot via email. I provide value. So I email my list once a week, providing value to them. And if I have a product launch coming up or something like that, I'll send some emails out for that. You don't want to try to sell via social media. People aren't using social media to buy stuff. But if you have a system in place on what you're going to do, and that's what I said too, have that conversation. Move that relationship forward, have a conversation. That's when you sell. So it's about understanding, what is that time and energy being invested well on trying to spam, pitch, whatever. Like, gosh, you got to send out a lot of emails or a lot of messages or in-mail messages to get somebody to bite on that, because it turns most people off. So in most cases, whether they're getting results from it or not, it's probably overall not a good strategy.
Right.
So,
My guess is that LinkedIn is going to crack down on that at some time if people continue to take advantage of that, because it is very spammy. No, I didn't opt in to hear about your programs,
Right. Yeah. Well, and LinkedIn manages the whole spam aspect fairly well. There's always going to be people that are spamming in everything. We see it on Twitter, we see it on Facebook, we see it on email all the time. And the fact that they only allow up to 50 people at a time, thank goodness, because if you had a network of thousands and they could push a button and send it out to thousands of people, it would be really difficult. So the 50 people at a time really limits the spammers, because they got to do a lot of work.
Right.
Network.
So let's talk about this up to 50.
You're frozen.
Hello? Are you there? That was so weird. I got cut off, and
Frozen on this end.
oh my gosh, yeah, and now I'm on twice, I think. But whatever, we're getting so intense on this LinkedIn conversation. So my question actually is, what is the since they do allow you to do 50 at a time, is there something that's appropriate to use the 50 for?
There's times when you can use it for sure. It's just about how, as long as you think about every single message that you send, that there's value in it for the receiver. If there's no value in it for the receiver, it's spam.
Gotcha.
Spam, right? So are you sending something that's relevant and interesting that they might be interested in? And if so, then why not?
And if it happens to sell something, is that okay too?
You're not going to sell something. You're not going to sell something, right? So typically, you want to, if you wanted to invite them to a free webinar, not a paid webinar,
Mm-hmm.
a free teleseminar, or you had a white paper that would be of value to them, or a great article that you thought was really relevant to a specific audience, and you can really justify that it provides value and it's not selling anything, then that's different.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that, and it really comes down to the messaging and how you've worded it and how you kind of approach it. You can do this so wrong and you can do it right? So.
Yep, indeed. You are such a wealth of knowledge. So if somebody is ready to step into a bigger game on social media now, and they're enrolled, and we've got them over some of these myths here, what advice do you have for those people who want to get out there on social media?
The biggest thing that I'd say is really focus on the specific social networks that are right for your business. Less is more. So focus on a couple at least that you can do really, really well that not only are right for your business, but where you can easily access your target market. You can easily connect with them, engage with them, because the network might be ideal, like for example, a Facebook page. A Facebook page is a perfect example of this. If you don't have a budget to spend on Facebook ads, you're wasting your time.
I agree.
So Facebook might be ideal for you, but is it ideal for you to actually reach that audience?
Mm-hmm.
If it's not ideal for you to reach the audience, then you need to look at something else. The other thing is depending upon your business and anybody that's an entrepreneur or professional service provider of any kind, you need to position yourself as an authority and create some great content. You don't need to create videos and articles and stuff like that every single week. Even if you just get into a schedule where you're doing it, once or twice a month, as long as you're consistent with it, and it's going to position you as an authority on your topic and give you great content to share via social media.
Cool.
So, those are really important, and really just, look at the ways of which the tools that you're going to use. Like, again, I focus a lot of attention on LinkedIn because it's such a great tool for lead generation. Look at where you can actually control your results. One of the things I talk about is a proactive versus a passive social network. Like, I consider Facebook, a business page, a very passive social network, because people have to go to your page, they have to like your page, and then you have to hope and pray that you're going to show up in the news feed and actually reach them. So you're just waiting and hoping and praying. Whereas with tools like Twitter or LinkedIn, you can actually proactively go out and reach out to the people that you want to have conversations with. And so you can control your results a lot more. So look for the things that you can do that you can be proactive and that can actually produce results, and understand that the results and goals and objectives for each tool that you use, email marketing being one, LinkedIn being one, Twitter being one, Facebook being one, can be different for each one.
Mm-hmm.
And they should be different because they're all different. And so look at, why am I using Facebook? Why am I using Twitter? Why am I using LinkedIn? What am I going to do with email marketing? Why am I using that? And understand what the goal and objective is for each one, because without that, you're just going to kind of be spinning your wheels.
One of the things that keeps coming up over and over again with clients and LinkedIn is, it's kind of a twofold. Can I have a business page without a personal profile is number one. And the other one is, I have two roles. I have my own business, but I'm also employed. And how do I represent myself, that way?
Okay, so let's target the first one first. Can you have a company page without a personal profile? No. And why would you want to? Your results on LinkedIn are going to come through your personal profile, not your company page. Because people want to deal with people, not logos. So that's where your results are going to come from. The relationships you build through your personal profile. You have a company page, and you can run ads, and you can do stuff, and maybe get a little bit of exposure, maybe more traffic to your website. But at the end of the day, people want to deal with people, not logos. So the results are going to come from that. Now, the next question that you asked, Laura, and this one gets asked a lot, right? Well, I've got a couple of different things that I do, maybe 2 different businesses, or maybe 1 job in a business. It comes down to, where are you going to get the best leverage from LinkedIn? That's what you want to focus on. So if you're looking at building your business and you've got a job, your profile should focus completely on your business. If you've got 2 businesses or 2 very distinct different target markets, focus on the one where you're going to get the best results from LinkedIn. Yeah, I'll give you an example. I have a client who owns a matchmaking service, and I created all her social media profiles for her on all the different platforms, wrote her LinkedIn profile for her, and as I was doing that, we were talking about what she was doing. So she was going to offer distributorships, kind of like franchises, in different cities for her brand. And then, of course, she has her matchmaking service, which is very well suited for professionals and executives. So as I was going through this with her, I was like, okay, well, you've got this B2B application where you're looking for specific people that might be good distributors, franchisees for your company in different cities across the country. Let's focus the majority of your profile on that. And normally I would have said, let's not try to go after the consumers, like the people that are interested in matchmaking services, because we don't know who they are. We don't know who's single and who's married on LinkedIn. And I usually advise people not even to fill out that section, because people should know your personal details. They don't need to know your birthday, and they don't need to know whether you're married or not. That's irrelevant, But one thing I thought of when I was doing this with her, I was like, LinkedIn is full of her ideal clients for her matchmaking service. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an 80-20 split on her profile, where I'm going to focus 80% of my messaging, if you will, on the business opportunity, 20% on the matchmaking opportunity, because she's not going to be connecting with people for that. But if people happen to see her, whether it's in groups or engaging or come across her profile or see that she's a connection of somebody else or whatever, and they see that she's a matchmaker and they're interested, it gives her an opportunity to get found and have them reach out and contact her versus her contacting them.
Nice.
So
great example.
It was an 80-20 split, right? Sometimes it'll be a 50-50 split. Sometimes it'll be 100-0.
That's great. Thank you for all your advice. It's all, and so the bottom line is, it depends. You really have to think through a strategy and the goals that you want for this particular network. And just to remind everybody, your book is The LinkedIn Code, Melonie Dodaro, and you have that wonderful link, licodecheatsheet.com, licodecheatsheet.com, is that right?
Yes, that is.
That's great. Any other way people can get a hold of you or find out how you can help them?
Yeah, the LinkedIncode.com or topdogsocialmedia.com.
Fabulous. Thank you again. Yes?
I was just saying, on my website is links to all of my different social platforms. So if anybody wants to connect through any of those, there's links that they can easily find me.
Great. And a wealth of information on your blog too, as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We're big on blogging, so.
Okay, terrific. Well, that was another edition of Social Media Myths Busted with Melonie Dodaro. We'll be back again with our next one soon. Thanks for attending.